You're listening to episode 180 of the Super League Pod. From Coke to Choke, we have it all covered, and we don't just discuss Castleford. We have a heavy dose of news, fan reviews from all Super League games and more, plus we look ahead to the Challenge Cup. Throw in some quiz in, and episode 180 has it all. So get strapped in, kids, it's SLP time. Hello everyone, welcome along to episode 180 of the Super League Pod. That's special significance for the darts fans out there, and we'll get onto that later on in the feedback and shout-outs. But before we get into anything further, joining me, your regular host Mark, this week on the line is co-host Rich Wilkinson, all the way from the land down under. How's it going, Rich?
Yeah, pretty good. Obviously not always from the land down under with an accent like that.
No, and you've not lost your accent, which is one of the things that's most marvellous about you after the decade.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. I've been out here since 2011, so you don't lose a voice like mine. So, okay.
So for those listeners who don't know much about Rich, why don't you give us a bit of an introduction to yourself, Rich? Where are you from before you went down under? Where's your rugby league love lie and that sort of thing?
Yeah, okay. Well, as you'll find out in this podcast, I will talk about myself at length, and that's not a problem. So, basically, I'm from Leeds, from West Yorkshire. Grew up in Kippax, went to school in Garforth. So, for anybody who's in the area, that is right on Cass Leeds, the north-south divide, essentially, you know, and pretty much half the people support Cass, half the people support Leeds. Grew up with a family who loved Leeds RL, love Leeds Rhinos, and you know it was never a choice to support anybody else really. You know, I fell in love with the sport, and I've loved it for many years. And obviously moving to Australia, where it's rugby league Disneyland, you know, it's just amazing living out here and just experiencing it. Living in Sydney, my wife's Australian, my kids are Australian, and there's no way I'm coming home. But you know, it's an absolute awesome place to live, and just, you know, rugby league is frontline news every single day, especially in Sydney. I post on Twitter as Soap Opera for Men, which has been a bit of a spoof Twitter account for me, and obviously I just use it to kind of give people a bit of needle and stuff like that. But
when
I just
you say people,
obviously
you mean Cass fans, don't you?
Cast fans generally, but other people as well, mate. So this is a good opportunity that I did make some notes prior to this, and it's public apology time. So basically, I'd just like to, just put out there the perils of going on Twitter and being 40 years old. So basically, all around basically the Jack Walker saga, I ended up accidentally trolling a kid who was the same age as my oldest son. So I inadvertently ended up trolling Jack Walker on Twitter, and I never meant to. And it was one of the, this is a cautionary tale that, you know, get on Twitter and have a laugh as a 40-year-old man. But I ended up trolling a 17-year-old kid who I absolutely adore, but it never meant to come out that way. So what it was Zak Hardaker was giving him advice on Twitter, going, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and I was like, Hardacre, who are you to give him advice? He's the last person in the world you should be taking advice from. And this was back in when there was a contract negotiations. So basically, go on Twitter as Soap Opera for Men, but it's a cautionary tale that you want to be careful, because you might end up inadvertently trolling somebody. And obviously, because Jack Walker was in the thread as well, I'm now trolling some kid, and it made me kind of step back from Twitter and, you know, give me a bit of a reality check that, you know, before you know it, you're trolling kids.
And I know from seeing you during the time of the Jack Walker kind of not signing what was going to happen thing, that you were emotionally invested in that kid. So I'm sure you were devastated when...
Oh yeah, when it kind of appeared that there was Jack Walker liking something Zak Hardaker said, I was like, no, I don't really care about him. I'm just saying you're a bit of a numpty. And as it turned out, I was right regarding Hardacre. But I'm glad Walker did what he did. So, but if Jack Walker's out there, if you ever listens or anybody knows him, I apologise sincerely for trolling you as a kid, and I'm a 40-year-old man, so I apologise. We got that out of the way.
It is a strange experience now as I'm moving into the point of my life where I'm basically older than every player that I hero worship other than Sean O'Loughlin, and it's a curious state to be in, isn't it?
It is. I've been there. So for me, it was JP and Adrian Morley, and once they moved out the game, it was like I'm older than everybody in the Super League. So my career was officially over. My aspirations of getting on the late call up.
Well, I think one of the best players in the world, still a year older than me, so I've got time in me left yet, Rich. I've not ruled out a career.
But I've seen your physique. You definitely get a game
in touch.
I don't know if you've ever seen the Waterboy, the one where they bring on the towel boy and he gets destroyed. Yeah, we'll go with that, Charles.
Right, okay, so what we've got coming up on the show, we've already hinted at a bit of Zak Hardaker chat, and we're going to move on to talk a bit more about the situation. We just covered it last week, me and Sarah, but we'd only just got the bare bones of it. There's been a lot of flesh added to that in the day or so after we recorded the show last week. There's quite a lot of news to get through. We're probably not going to focus in much detail on any of the news stories. A lot of it's unwelcome, significant injury news, which is a bit shit to be going through at this start of the season when we've got Magic Weekend on the horizon and we want to see all the stars out and we're going to be missing some. So we'll cover some of that, and then we've got game reviews from every Super League game in the recaps from the fans, and there's loads of other important results to get to. But first of all, we'll touch on the Zak Hardaker situation. We gave everyone an opportunity to get in touch with their thoughts. I'm just going to run through some of what we got in from you guys out there on Twitter, and then me and Rich will have our sort of says on the situation. So we'll start with Neil McEwen at Neil McEwen 4600. He said, so if I get hammered, then snort some Colombian marching powder. My employers will understand and go easy on me. Scratchy face. What an utter pile of steaming shite, more corrupt than FIFA. It's a ridiculous length of ban. It should be at least 2 years. There's no excuse. He knew what he was doing. Rumours are saying he's depressed, sorry, but if it's true, lots of people are down, but you don't resort to cocaine. Hock and Chase both 2 years. Golden Boy Zak has basically a 1 year ban so he can join Wigan.
Absolutely.
David Powell adds to the conspiracy theories at St David 2911. He says maybe if Rangi Chase had Wigan and England doctor supporting him. ... White Pie coming at it from a different angle, and he would be doing, because Lee's a Wigan fan. This is at White Pie. He said the danger of the I have mental health issues but I didn't take drugs argument is that no two people are the same. Just because you didn't or don't sniff the odd line to cope doesn't mean that someone else with mental health would use that as an escape. Alan Walker at Alan Paul Walker said, all is clear now. Get levered before you get white line fever and you get a reduced sentence. Should have used that one myself. I still think the game extend it to 2 or more years. Anyway, the game has a very bad reputation, a bit unfairly, and needs to get rid of that reputation. Coke is considered performance enhancing in competition. The game has to be tough. It's a tough game. Joshua's granddad at John Scott 15 says, so it seems if you get caught, you just need to find an historic tragedy to get a favourable result. Pity Rangi forgot what it was the anniversary of his pet rat dying when he got caught. Stuart Warburton at Stewie Warby said, not long enough for the scruff. Succinct there from Stu. Dawn Polak at Dawn NW, it's a new one on me. She says, he should have got more, hardly without a blemish before this. And then Lee Whitnall, Warrington fan Lee, says, it doesn't seem fair that Zak got a lesser ban than others for the same offence, especially compared to Rangi Chase, who appears to be similarly mentally fragile and has effectively had his career ended by his 2 year ban so late in his career. However, I'm pleased for Zak. He obviously presented a compelling case to UKAD and gets another chance. He's a terrific player, and hopefully his new club will invest as much in as much time in his mental health as his physical health. So a wide range of views there, Rich. You've obviously been along the Zak Hardaker journey for most of his previous indiscretions that Dawn hints at. So really interesting to get your take on the situation.
Look, this is, as has been touched on in other podcasts and this podcast, and when Tom were around as well, is that, let's not get away from the fact that the only thing shocking about...
We're not supposed to mention Tom's name. We're supposed to pretend he's dead to us now because he left me, remember? I'm only joking.
He's dead to us. But, it's like,
He lives again in the match reviews. A teaser for later. But sorry, you were making a serious point.
I didn't notice that. I'm trying to be serious here, Mark. Okay. So, look, basically, I think we've made a point that, the only thing shocking about rugby league players and sportsmen using Charlie is that people are still getting shocked about it. Now, there is a massive problem. Let's not get away from that, but that still doesn't legitimise it or make it right. And, how does the game get a grip on it is a totally different story from this, is that somebody's gone to the legislator and pleaded his case and got a reduced ban. Now, I'm sure everybody's teasing you about the Wigan scenario or whatever. That's obviously a jest and don't play a part in it, but I think
it doesn't help when Dr. Chris Brooks and head of conditioning as well appear in giving evidence for him. But that actually leads to Lee's point that his future club are looking after him.
Well, it's true, but it's just one of the. I've watched him obviously come through as a kid and be really pleased to have him at Leeds, and you could see the talent in him. And I think there's nothing worse than wasted talent, and whether that's through his unfortunate episodes with mental health, or he's using them as an excuse to get away with his ban. But there's no doubt that he's seriously made some big mistakes in his life, and I think everybody just wants to be at the stage where it's like, can you just not make any more? It doesn't matter who you play for or what you're doing. You've got a massive talent. I know there's a lot of players who really like him. There's a lot of players' wives and stuff like that who adore him and say he's a sweet guy, a lovely guy, but he's also a dickhead.
Yeah.
And he really needs to get to grips with that.
He'll have been that kid at school that was sat at the front by the teacher, not just because the teacher wanted him to behave, but because the teacher had a soft spot for them, sort of thing. But they knew that he was going to fuck up at some point.
Yeah, and that was the only way to control him, though, mate.
Yeah.
She had to keep him within a foot away, just because he was just about to start tossing it off and have everybody laughing in about 30 seconds. And I've known kids like him, you know what I mean?
But that's just the sense you get from Zak, innit?
Yeah, totally. What do you think? Well, he's obviously going to be playing for you next, or probably.
Almost certainly. There's, I think there's a couple of probably contractual things to iron out with his release / sacking from Cass and that sort of stuff. That I'm guessing there'll be some aspects of that Zak needs to cover off with them before signing for someone else. Because he'll be playing sooner than they maybe expected him to at the time of him leaving.
I also think Wigan's probably PR department are idiots, and you just let the dust settle before you don't go, oh yeah, he's off, we'll just announce him as a signing. There's no need to announce it, is there, till a little further down the track, and
we're not
everybody's got to
Zak Hardaker until we've finalise something with John Bateman one way or the other, I don't think.
And obviously the Tompkins deal. And Tompkins has got to come out and everything first.
I think that the interesting thing is the way the case has been put together. Now, a lot of people are making a lot of the, certainly strong hints in there of mental health issues and personal tragedies, which we could only speculate on, and we're not really ones to want to speculate too much on this show from the redacted parts of the report. But it's obviously clear that there's a medical issue that he's been diagnosed with in 2015 that he was, should have been taking medication for, but Zak wasn't always taking his medication as he should have. That there was some personal issues in April 2016 that exacerbated his kind of mental health condition, his illness that he'd been diagnosed with. We can't be sure what that was. And then there was an incident in September 2016 that obviously on the anniversary of that in September 2017 caused him to do something way stupid. As the report says, the whole, although the drug is deemed as a performance enhancing drug in terms of you're not allowed to use it in competition times, if he'd done this the night after the game, then it never would have come up on anything, you wouldn't have thought. No. And the amount he drank meant that no amount of coke that he's going to take is actually going to be improving him in any way for the game he was about to play. Yeah. The fact that he played in that game, pulled off that ridiculous cover tackle in that game. Was that no, that wasn't the game. It was the Super 8's game, wasn't it? That was the game where he pulled off that cover tackle, weren't it, at Cass?
And my understanding is it was straight after the Leeds game. Is that correct?
It was the Leeds game that he got tested in. Yeah. So he actually didn't play badly in that game, but it was it was the hangover and stuff, not the drugs and stuff wouldn't have.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I can't remember the cover tackle, but I don't think he's had a bad game against Leeds.
Yeah, but stuff like that, I think that's why they're saying it wasn't performance enhancing, and all these personal aspects of it. One of the significant things in it isn't just that, though. It's these other cases that were cited, which have got nothing to do with rugby league. So throwing in what happened with Rangi Chase, well, Rangi Chase just didn't argue his case well enough then, or these other precedents hadn't been established well enough.
I think they call it what